opportunity to start the great day off and talk a little Tennessee football. Before I get started, I'd like to thank two gentlemen that are very, very instrumental in Brick by Brick. Dr. DiPietro, thank you for all that you do, and Dr. Cheek, thank you for all that you do. And Jerry Caldwell sitting in the back, Bristol Motor Speedway. 2016 will be here before you know it. But when Lanny spoke about Brick by Brick, it's not a fancy slogan. It's something that we truly believe in, and you win with people, and people make a place. And so every brick is symbolic of, first of all, the foundation that needs to be built, but also it's symbolic of every individual in our football organization. And running a football organization is a great, great challenge. And if you ask me, just like any CEO, any manager, any owner of a company, what do you enjoy the most? The most I enjoy is painting the vision. Painting the vision for where you're going. There's so much that goes into it within an organization. And the last 18 months have been probably the fastest 18 months of my life, but also the most rewarding, but also the most challenging at the same time. And see, what happens is winning is a disease and losing is a disease. And it's all about a culture. It's all that you want in place. I'm a big morale person. And so what has happened when you start to lose is individuals become indifferent, complacency sets in, you accept defeat, and everyone in your organization becomes institutionalized. And it's really amazing, it almost comes to a point of not what can I do for Tennessee, but what can Tennessee do for me? What's in it for me? And there's been many challenges and many, many victories along the way. But before we could even start with our players, it had to start in the infrastructure in the Anderson Training Center. And right down to how you greet individuals when they call. I have buddies, I make them call our football office. And we believe in a 3-person greeting when somebody walks in. To me, you only have, in our business, it's the most competitive business in the world, you only have 4 to 6 seconds to make a first impression. So any individual, recruit, prospective student, athlete, mom and dad, they walk into our building, it's a 3-person greeting. Their name, your name, and then welcome to Rocky Top, or welcome to the University of Tennessee. Because when you have a 3-person greeting, people want to hear 3 things. You know their name, your name, but when you tell them where you're from, that shows pride and ownership in what you believe in. And it's amazing, as I was in a team meeting telling our players this, and you talk about small victories. So we had the #1 quarterback in the country and the #1 defensive lineman in the country. And they're walking in, and half our team is going up giving them the 3-person greeting. So that was a small victory. But you get to paint the vision, and everyone becomes institutionalized. And so a lot of times change is disruptive. Sometimes change is unwelcoming. I'm a firm believer in change. I love change. We had a personal psychiatrist come in that works in business, and they talked about in your business, if you want to get the most out of your employees, you should change the carpet, the wall color, or the way your office is arranged every 2 to 3 years for human productivity. And so I'm a firm believer in change. I like change. I think it's great. But we had to start building that brick by brick, that culture, that mentality of how we were going to win. And the first place to start was academics. I talk about this all the time. We already had the greatest victory in the history of Tennessee football that isn't really celebrated. And when I became the head coach in Tennessee, I knew that we were facing a very, very monumental challenge. And that's what's called the APR. And the APR is a formula that the NCAA uses with student-athlete retention, graduation, everything that goes into it. And I knew that we were on course to become the first football institution to suffer the APR penalty. UConn had it last year in basketball, and that would have been catastrophic. And you have bowl bans, Everyone on your team can transfer, and a signing class doesn't mean anything. They're not bounded by the letter of intent. Dr. Jimmy Cheek, Dave Hart, our entire administration, we walked in. We started the day of my introductory press conference, and we had a plan. And we had about a 10% chance of making that plan. And we made it. And I've had colleagues across the country, we've had academic advisors across the country now come and say, how did you do that? You know, I had former coaches that called me and said, Butch, there's no way. How did you do it? And it was changing the culture. We had 1,000 in the APR, which is a perfect score. With a coaching change, that may be the first time in the history of college football. But our players understand the magnitude and importance of getting a Tennessee degree and what it means. Our goal is a 3.0 this past semester, this coming semester. But we have had the 2 highest semesters back-to-back in the history of our program. But again, whatever you deem is important, it's going to be important. And our administration has done a great job because it's student-athlete. It's students first, athletes second. That's the way it is. And it's making a difference in everyone's life. So in recruiting, obviously, that's one of our big selling points. Our academic reputation. We have tremendous academics here at Tennessee. Our GPA, our players go to class. They understand the standard, the expectation. But we had to teach them how you dress, where you sit, bringing your notebooks. We start a team meeting, it's 20 minutes early. And you should see panic. If an individual isn't in the room and there's about 5 minutes to go, they panic. But it's skills that are going to help them, whether they're in the National Football League or their first board meeting. I want them to be different because they're part of Tennessee football. And what we sell in recruiting is relationships. And I tell our recruits this quite simply: if you come to Tennessee with this coaching staff, you're not getting a 3, 4, 5-year commitment. You're getting a lifetime commitment. And to me, that's what it's all about. That's why we have 5 former players that are involved in our football family right now, in our football organization. So we had to change a culture. We had to change a mindset. Then you get into your off-season strength and conditioning program, your standard, your expectations. As we told them, we will not become you, you will become us. And I will tell you this past spring ball was probably the most enjoyable spring ball I've ever had. Now my patience was tested. Over 50% of our football team was going through spring practice for the first time. So here's the challenge. We start to build a foundation. Now you're not back to ground zero, but you can't assume anything. So we had to go back, but the great thing is I relied on our older players. We have a great big senior class this year. We have 12. So leadership is at the premium. And the other thing is we work on leadership every single day. And if you ask me what's the most used term in the United States and the most misused term, it's leadership. Individuals today really don't know how to lead. They're too busy on their iPhones. I found out a study that now 75% of students at the college age shower with their cell phones. I was blown away. But that is the world that we live in today. And then you have to understand how to communicate with these 17, 18, 19-year-old individuals. This is the first society. Their generation is the first generation where they don't need parents for content. They can get content on their own, by their phones, but they still need us for context. They still don't truly understand what it is or what it's all about. So you have to stimulate, you have to motivate your employees every single day. And it's a pride of who we are. It's how you greet people. It's all that mindset. So we're building a work capacity, a work volume every day of what's expected. And we're not anywhere where we need to be, but I will tell you this, we're laying those bricks and it's very, very, very exciting. I can see the progress. I can see the little wins every single day, like the 3-person greeting. I thought our team took a monumental step in the orange and white game, and I want to thank everyone for attending. And almost 69,000 people came out. That helps us in recruiting, but I needed it as an evaluation tool for our football team. You know, everyone talked offense, defense, orange and white, but really it was individual competition in a competitive environment. That's what I wanted to see. And that's why we did the individual competitions and call their name out and have to perform in front of 69,000 people. But we were really evaluating every individual on an individual basis and whether we could trust them and whether we could win with them come August. And the exciting thing is the 14 individuals that we had the most in the country of 14 mid-year enrollees. They completely changed the dynamics of our organization from a competitive standpoint, but for an affinity and a passion for the University of Tennessee. A lot of them grew up bleeding orange. They understand the orange and white checkerboards. They understand General Neal. They understand the game maxims. To me, that's what it's all about. And then come June, we welcome 18 more individuals. And to make everybody feel better, 15 of them are on the defensive side of the ball. So basically, we had our influx of offensive talent as mid-year enrollees. Now we get the influx of defensive talent on the defensive side of the ball. You know, and when you're able to bring back the child's, you know, the sons of legacy players, Bill Bates, Todd Kelly Sr., you know, to me, Nico Kramer, all those individuals, you know, that's special. You know, Dylan Bates bleeds orange. Todd Kelly Jr. bleeds orange. They were born on Tennessee football. And so now when they walk into the meeting rooms and they get here, that makes a big, big, big difference. So what's next? All of our coaches are on the road recruiting. The life of a college football coach. The spring game ended on Saturday. I got home I walked in the door, it was 11:45 at night with recruiting. We were back at the building at 7 a.m. on Sunday just for one recruit. But it's putting our best foot forward and showing them what Rocky Top has to offer. I got home at about 8 o'clock that night Sunday, and our coaches were in Monday morning for a staff meeting, and we're all over the country for the next 4 weeks. So we'll be in over 5,000 high schools in the next month, spreading the Tennessee brand. So our coaches are on the road spring recruiting right now. Our players, the next couple of weeks are going through what I love, player-led lifting. So they're actually going through where they run the lifts themselves. And we have in our football family, we have what's called a player staff. And that's a group of 13 elected individuals by their peers that are the player staff. They're the coaching staff. We meet right in our board meeting, right in our staff meeting. They sit in the same chairs our staff sits in, because I want them to feel important. And we talk leadership, and I'll be quite candid with you. Last year, probably the worst player staff meetings I ever had. It was very symbolic of the culture. It was, Coach, what can we get for being on the player staff? Hey, Coach, we need some t-shirts. Hey, Coach, can we have breakfast here? It's all asking. And I knew there was a fundamental flaw there. I walk in last week, first thing A.J. Johnson says to me is, Coach, how can I be a better leader? Tell me what you need from me. To me, that was a win. Kurt Majid, all these individuals. We have an individual that will go before our player staff. They will determine his future in our football program. They will. And if they deem that it's an honor to play here, if they deem that he deserves to wear the Tennessee brand and the power T, and it's their responsibility to tell me his punishment, and they have to police it. So if it's touching every step in Neyland Stadium, 102-455 for 2 weeks, they better make sure it gets done. And so that's leadership. That's building a culture. That's building ownership. That's building buy-in. And that's something that we're developing all the time. When we come back, Our players will finish strong academically. They'll have about 3.5 weeks off. We come back and now we start our summer strength and conditioning program. And they're basically here for the entire year now. And they'll be with our strength and conditioning staff. We go into camp mode. We'll have about 10,000 prospective student athletes for about 20 scholarships come to campus. That's how competitive it is through the camp setting. And then we'll finish up, and then it's August camp. So it's a world that continues to evolve, continues to change. But I will tell you this, we are making tremendous strides. It's an honor and a privilege to be your head football coach. We have a lot of great things to sell. Knoxville is the greatest place we've ever lived. We're very proud of it, and I think you're going to be exceptionally proud of our football team this year. We'll be exceptionally young, only 12 seniors. So this team is basically going to be intact for the next couple years, which is very exciting. We have a very easy schedule this year, so I know that's a help. Everyone says, Butch, how do you do it? You're playing the most competitive college football program in the country, and then you only get to play Utah State that is a perennial bowl team that has a first-round draft choice at quarterback, and then Arkansas State, that's a bowl team, and then, hey, you get to go to Norman, Oklahoma. So, but it's exciting, and I could sit up here right now, but I know you may have a lot of questions for me, and before we answer those questions, I'll answer the first question that you'll have for me of who's going to be our starting quarterback. So I'll go there. We have a thing in our program called Power the Position. And it's every coach's responsibility and every player at that position to be the best that they can possibly be. And if they're at the best that they can possibly be and they reach their full potential, then we've done our jobs. And so we take great pride in it. The power of the position at quarterback, I thought the 4 quarterbacks made tremendous strides. And I think though, all the eyes point towards the quarterback, they were better, all relative to the point that we were better at receiver. Josh Malone has changed our receiving corps. Von Pearson. You know, we have some youngsters in that group, but I've always said it, quarterback's best friend is to throw a 5-yard pass and it turns into a 50-yard pass, and everybody says, man, that's a great play call. How about that? But really, it's just a 5-yard pass. And so we're starting to build playmakers on the perimeter of our offense. We've asked a lot of our quarterbacks. You know, Joshua Dobbs, I thought, had his best performance of the spring game. He has his best performance, and then he turns around and he's inducted to a fraternity of academic success on Sunday. And he's an aeronautical engineering 4.0 student. So again, you see we're winning in the classroom, and we will start to win on the field. But it is a process. I have 3 boys. 7-year-old didn't want to get out of bed this morning. So you raise them the same, and they all have different personalities. 7, 12, and 17. Just like most of us have children in here. Being a football coach, I'm raising 17, 18, 19-year-old individuals, 20, 21-year-old individuals. They're not robots. Every young person develops differently. So I can't tell you when it's going to turn because we're dealing with human nature. But I've seen monumental changes in the form of Marlon Lane in his personal habits, in his style. You know, and so the program works. It's going to take time. You know, again, when you have about 46 with walk-ons newcomers, over half our roster will be in their first year at Tennessee. But we will get it done. I'm encouraged. I'm excited to where we're going. And I want to thank you for all your support.